Okay, thank you for the organizers for inviting me to. I don't know why there are those extra windows, but I guess you can still read my presentation. Yeah, the problem that is it is not letting me. Maybe now, much better. Okay, so it is a great pleasure for me to be here, and I want to close today's session by telling you a bit about us, about PRX and the physical review and the American Physical Society in general. And then I will tell you a bit in depth about how the peer review process works. So for those of you who are still relatively new, I hope this will be useful when you submit papers in the future. For experienced people, I still hope there will be something of interest to you in it that you hopefully don't know. So let's start. The American Physical Society. It is a non-profit membership organization that was founded at the end of the 19th century with the purpose of supporting the physics community in every way it can, by promoting the learning and teaching of physics, by publishing outstanding scientific publications, and by supporting the community through meetings and advocacy. We represent a huge number of members, more than 50,000, and the number is growing, spread amongst academia, national labs, and also private industry. We have two locations, one in Washington, D.C., which is our central headquarters, and then the editorial office, of which I am part of, which is in Long Island, relatively close to New York City. In the editorial office is where the physical review journals are born. We are a big group of journals, counting 17 publications at the moment and growing, which publishes more than 20,000 articles per year, one every half an hour, more or less. And we are a big group of an editorial group of representing more than 30 different nations, from the United States to China, India, Italy, where I am from, Germany, and many more. And so APS, before I tell you in detail our publications, I want to tell you that our purpose, as I said, is to spread the knowledge of science. So to ensure that that stays our goal and we don't lose sight of it, APS has recently signed an agreement with IOP and AIP, which we call purpose-led publishing, which is basically a declaration in which we state that we will never put profit above science. Our goal will first and foremost always be the advancement of physics and serving the community. And we will never put profit above that. Now, a bit more detail on the physical review. As I said, we compose a large number of publications. Broadly speaking, we are divided into two main pillars. The first one, which is the, let's call it, more traditional one. Yeah, do you want to say something? No, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's the first article that was published in the Physical Review. Okay. So we have two pillars. The traditional hybrid one, which composes our titles with the longest history, like Physical Review Letters, Review of Modern Physics, and Physical Review A, B, C, D, and D, plus some new ones like Physical Review Materials, which I call hybrid because these are subscription journals, in the sense that typically authors publish there for free, and then libraries and universities need to pay for access for it. However, authors also on these titles have the option of publishing open access if they are willing to pay a publication fee. So they are subscription, but they have this option for open access. Then we have the more modern pillar, which is fully open access, which composes of Physical Review X, which was actually the first one of this pillar, and then mostly it is composed by Physical Review Research, which is the open access equivalent of Physical Review A, B, C, and D, and then what we call the PRX topical journals like PRX Quantum, PRX Energy, and PRX Life, which are meant to be almost at the level of PRX, but specialized in a specific area. Now, this was for the general introduction. Now, what is Physical Review X specifically? There are many possible answers to this question. The first one, of course, is that a journal is made by its editorial team. So here is a brief overview. Here we have the leadership of our journal, which is made by Denis Bartol, our lead editor, who decides our scientific direction. Imin Zhu, our current chief editor, who takes care of the day-to-day operations. Then we have two people that deal with classical statistical physics papers, Elena Cessé-Sans and Raphaël Voiturier. Then we have two people in condensed matter, Victor Vakariuk and Paul Snyders, which are shared with PRB. And finally, we have two people dealing with mostly quantum information-related papers, which is myself and Yun Lee, who is specialized in AMO physics mostly. Of course, this is only part of the story. A journal is also decided by its acceptance criteria, which can be found on our website. They are listed here, which go from make a fundamental new discovery to create a new paradigm, establish fruitful analogies within different fields. However, if I were to take all of these and condense them into a single motto, this is what I would use. We like to say that PRX is a small journal for big papers. What do we mean for that? Well, small journals means a few things. First is that we publish only a small number of papers per year, around, say, between 200 and 300, typically, which cover all areas of physics. This, of course, is a small number, but this gives us a huge advantage. Namely, it allows us to really pay personalized attention for each paper. In the sense, as editor, we really try to read, get into the physics of every single paper we receive before making any decision. And as I said, it's a journal for big papers, which means a few things. First, from the strictly operational point of view, we have a flexible format with no strict length limit. But most importantly, we want to publish papers which are going to have a deep and lasting impact. We want papers that are really going to change the way people look at things or the way people work in practice. So if I were, as I was saying before, to synthesize all of our acceptance criteria in one, is papers that are going to have impact, papers people are going to care about. And of course, as I said, our decisions are as much as we possibly can based on scientific quality only. And to ensure that that is the case, we do our best to make our peer review as rigorous and comprehensive as we possibly can. Which brings me to the next part and the longest part of my talk, in which I will try to briefly but in detail tell you how peer review actually works at PRX in particular, but most of what I will say applies to the rest of the physical review as well. So when we talk about peer review, this is what authors usually have in mind. A set of obstacles between themselves and their paper getting published. From our point of view, it is formed of a few steps, namely, of course, for us editors, the story of each paper starts with when it is submitted to our journal. From your point of view, this is not the case. Of course, there is a lot of work before us, but for us, when we first see it, is when it is sent to us, and then we do our first evaluation. How do we do that? Well, when we receive our new papers, it is first assigned to one editor, which will be the primary contact person for it. This does not mean that other editors will not be involved. We usually talk among each other, but it just means that one person will be the one signing the emails and reading and writing all correspondence. And the things we do is, of course, first of all, read the paper and its cover letter. Then once we have an idea of what is going on, we try to have a look at the relevant literature to try to understand a bit how novel are the results, what people are going to be likely to be interested in this sort of results, how it fits into the overall grand scheme of things. And as I said, we also discuss papers among ourselves with editors of our journals, but also with people outside, with people like you. Already at this stage, while we do not yet ask for a formal report, we can already contact people and ask them just to provide their impressions on the paper, on whether this looks like a PRX or not. And what we look for? Well, several things. As I said, we look for papers with impact, but in practice, this can mean a paper that presents an original new direction of research, a paper that takes a field that already exists but advances it substantially, a paper that formulates a completely different view, a completely different idea. And of course, we really like papers that can be used by other people in practice, either in the form of technological applications or new methods that can then be studied for other people in their research, or these sort of things. So this first step can usually end in two ways. One, and the most common, I need to say, we decide that it is unlikely that going forward will be productive. In that case, we prefer to tell the authors immediately that we do not think the paper is going to be a PRX, and to recommend them to try with a different journal. To give you an idea, this is the fate of approximately 90% of the papers we receive. For the remaining 10% that look like they have real potential, then we move to peer review. Okay, I said 90. Sorry, I meant 80. 90 is the fraction of papers we reject in all stages of a process. 80%. So 20 are the papers that go to the next step, which is the actual peer review, which involves, of course, sending the papers to the referees. So at this point, usually we face one of the main challenges of our job, which is actually finding the referees. Well, good news is that we have several tools to find them. Of course, we look at references of the paper and try to find the articles that look related and whose authors look like they have the right expertise and interest. We look at related papers by searching the web. We check, of course, the names recommended by the authors. We check our own database for some referees that could have the right competence. Of course, if an editor knows well the subject, they can just think of some names they can try. We can and often do check referees that review the related manuscripts. Of course, there are also some kind of people that we try to avoid as much as possible as referees, and these include co-authors of the authors of the paper, people that either have recent publications of them or that we know are working together with the authors. We try to avoid people working at the same institution as the authors. We try to avoid people that are acknowledged in the paper. And well, it is an open secret that some authors just put in acknowledgements people that they don't want to review their papers. We avoid the direct competitors if we know about them. unfortunately, we don't always do that, but if we do, we avoid them. We avoid the people that are currently busy, namely, if a person is currently reviewing another paper for another, either PRX or another physical review journal, we will not send them a new paper until they are done with their current review, because I think no one of you would like to receive a PRX, a PRL, and a PRB at the same time. So we try to avoid that. And of course, I didn't include it on this slide, but we usually also avoid the people that the authors ask not to use as referees within reason. If say a topic has 10 groups working on it in the world, and the authors list 9 of them as referees to avoid, we will probably not be able to do as they ask. Okay, and now, once we have received the reports, which again may take a few rounds, because of course it can happen that referees may not respond. It may happen that that they are busy. It may happen that they do promise a report but then fall sick, and so, which causes delay. But apart from all that, when we get a referee report, there are a few things that we look for to assess it. We of course check the technical comments. We try to see if the problems the referee spotted with a paper actually do invalidate or compromise the conclusions of the paper, or if they are just things that do not seem to have an influence on the bottom line. Then, of course, we need to actually decide the importance of the paper, whether the referees are of the opinion that, yes, this is a paper that is going to have the impact, is a paper at PRX level or not. And to do that, typically, we weight the expertise of each reviewer. Of course, if a person is really on the topic and has a higher level of seniority, so a broader view of the field, we will tend to give more importance to their comments. Especially when reviewers disagree, we try to carefully check the reports against each other and also against the expertise of each of the referees. And it is not uncommon at all that in case we are not able to resolve the disagreement on our own, we either go look for a new referee or ask the referees to comment on each other report to try to reach an agreement or at least an understanding where each point of view is coming from. And at the end of the day, once all of this is really important, so I want to stress it, we don't count votes. It's not that, say, you've got 3 reports, 2 positive, 1 negative, the paper will be accepted. If the negative report is much stronger and more detailed and more concrete than the other 2, the paper may very well be rejected, or vice versa. I at least once in my life accepted a paper with 3 negative referee reports and rejected a paper with 3 positives. So these are extreme cases, but they happen. And finally, the review process usually can go on for 1 or more rounds, usually 2, but sometimes at PRX we go longer for 3 rounds. But once that is done, it may happen that the authors are unsatisfied with the decision because, well, we are not perfect, neither are the referees, so we totally can do mistakes. If you think that this is what happened to your paper, you have the option to ask for a formal appeal. When you do that, the entire file for your manuscript, which includes all the correspondence and all the names of the referees, will be sent to one of our editorial board members, which are researchers just like you that act as our scientific advisors. This is, by the way, is the only case in which we will disclose the names of the referees to someone who is not another editor. At that point, the board member will review the entire file and will and will be asked to return a signed adjudication. So again, only case in which the authors will know who actually reviewed their paper. And they will overturn our decision essentially in 3 cases. First one, if our choice of referees was really bad, namely the people have no expertise at all in the topic, they acted unprofessionally towards the authors or were in clear conflict of interest. Second case is the referees we chose were good, but they still managed to badly misjudge the paper. And finally, last case is if the editor did something inappropriate while handling the paper. At that point, the board member, if they think that one of these conditions is satisfied, they can either ask for the paper to be accepted right away, or they can ask for another round of scientific review to be carried out. In which case, that is what we will do. It is important to say, and I want to stress it, an appeal is not another round of review. It is not meant to have another round of discussions with the referees. It is really meant as a balance to our editorial decisions. If you think that we made a bad mistake, by all means go on appeal. It is important that our decisions are checked. If you simply disagree with the outcome, but do not think that any serious mistake was made on our part, then don't bother, because you will only waste time. So finally, this is my very last slide. These are mostly targeted towards the younger members of the audience. If you want to become a referee, what do you need to do? There are essentially 2 ways. One is to let us know directly, which you can do either through our web page. You can go on the link there, or just use the QR code here on this slide. Or you can also do that by email, by writing to help@aps.org. Then our help desk will set you up. Or second, more indirect way is to simply ask your advisor when they are reviewing a paper to write a joint report with you. Every time a referee sends us a report, they are given the option of indicate the names of people who review the paper together with them. Typically, this is younger members of their group, so student postdocs, but it doesn't have to be. But in all cases, this is a fantastic way for young people to learn how to review, because we've all been there. You get your first review, you get your first review request. You've never done this before, and you have no idea what you are supposed to do at this point. I was in this position as well. Having someone more experienced help you, either because they ask you to write a report with them, or vice versa, you ask for your help, is actually a great way to start learning all the tricks of the trade, and vice versa. For more experienced people, when you receive a review request and you don't have time, have too many other things to do, we would be really grateful if you can ask one of your younger students or postdocs to help to write a report in your stead, possibly with your help. Again, for us, it is a great help, because first we get a report, and second, this person gets added to our database, so we will be able to contact them again in the future. So, and this is all because, as I hinted before, becoming a referee is not something that you are just born with. It takes time. It takes practice, and so the earlier you start, and with the most help from our people you start, the better. So to conclude, our publications are all completely managed by scientists and aimed at scientists. We take our job very seriously. So if you have any kind of things you you would like to tell us, be it feedback, questions, comments of any kind, suggestion, we are here to listen to you. I will be here for the rest of the workshop, and we can be contacted by email. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria, for your very nice talk. So we're open for questions.
Being that if asked, one of us commits to reviewing unless they say no. I
Well,
think that model tends to be very unproductive. And
yeah, we know we are thinking about alternative ways to do it. So far, however, we have not made a lot of progress because, well, this is a system that has a lot of problems, but it has been used for a while for a reason. For example, one thing we thought about, I can tell you, is to have something like, I don't know, a sort of online board where we post the papers, and if people want to comment of them, they can contact us and send a report. But this, unfortunately, this has been discarded, at least at the moment, because it creates a big problem. It creates a problem with confidentiality. One of our main rules is that until a paper is published, no one will know that we are considering it a part of the authors themselves and the referees, because for several reasons. Keeping this commitment on a more open model of peer review becomes difficult, but we are thinking about ways to do it. Well, let me answer to you very selfishly, because we hope that if we insist, you will change your mind. No, more concrete, unfortunately, I hinted at this before, but we are facing a big problem, namely the rate at which the number of papers published every year grows. It is much higher than the rate at which new referees start reviewing. So for us, it is honestly getting more and more difficult to get papers reviewed promptly, properly, and in a reasonable amount of time. So I know it's not very nice on our side, but basically, if we think that that there is a chance we can convince a paper to review it, we will take that chance, putting it very bluntly.
Any other questions? You could raise the cost of publishing and then pay the referees.
Well, this is something where we also thought about. Problem is that if we were to do something like this, we would raise the cost of publishing a lot. And I mean, some groups would have no problems publishing with us anyways. Other, especially smaller groups and small institutions, may start to have problems at that point. We want to be as open to everyone as we possibly can.
One thing that might help would be to create an impression among promotion committees that for junior faculty who are concerned with tenure and are sometimes advised, don't waste your time on anything that doesn't help you get tenure, which I would probably advise a young person also. That if you could create the impression among these promotion committees that performing refereeing duties is a good part of your citizenship, sort of like being on the committees in your own university, and maybe send out notices once a year thanking every junior faculty member, or thanking everyone for the 3 or 4 refereeing jobs that they did, that we could probably create the impression that these should be included in young people's promotion packages as part of their citizenship. I think that it is citizenship but it's invisible. And I think that just making it a little bit more visible might encourage people to participate as part of their global academic duty.
Well, this is a great suggestion. Thank you. I would be glad to talk more about this with you later. But what I can tell you is that we are doing something. For example, it has not yet announced. It is not yet official, but we are starting an yearly program an yearly prize for exceptional referees. We already have what we call the Outstanding Referee Program, which we announce every year, but that's a lifelong achievement. That's for people who have helped us through their entire career. We are going to start probably, I'm not sure if later this year or next year, but we will start announcing a smaller prize for people who have been very good referees during a specific year. And this, of course, will be more aimed toward younger people, as you said. And apart from that, changing the culture, I totally agree with you that that would be a great thing with you, but it takes time. It's not something you can just do by snapping your fingers. We are trying to do what we can, talking to people, trying to promote this kind of service, as you said, but we still have there is still a lot of work to do, undoubtedly.
Maybe one last question.
It may not be what you want to hear, but how about changing the culture even more, where we just publish on the archive and take away all the stress of back and forth and so on, and let the community decide, which papers are important or not by actually reading them and referring to them just on the archive. And then we don't look at impact factors. The impact factors are what the community decides, not by where it got published.
Yeah, I totally see your point. I think, however, that journals still provide a valuable service, even if you don't look at impact factors. You don't look at grant applications and job searches. Namely, I would say we offer two services. First one is we provide an organized and formalized environment in which people can give feedback to other people's work, because in the end, this is what the role of the referees is, to provide feedback to the authors, and hopefully manage to make sure that at the end of the process, the paper is in a better shape than it was when the review process started. And the second thing that we offer, at least, is that we make a choice of the papers that we believe are the most worth reading. As you said, the archive exists. Of course, it is great, but the amount of papers published on the archive every day is huge. I don't want to talk to you, but I don't think that many people have the time to have a look at every single one of them. So what we try to do is to basically tell people, hey, in our biased opinion, these are the papers that are the most worth reading this month. Mm-hmm.
Actually, you have to remind me, because it changes the policy concerning uploading the last version of the paper post-referee
Mm-hmm.
onto the archive. My understanding is that that's not cool. Any of the physical. Can you remind us of what?
Well, I will be honest with you. I am not sure for the subscription journals. I think they are fine with it, but I will need to ask. I can tell you for sure that for the open access ones like PRX, there is no problem.
No, that's actually meeting the archive halfway.
Yeah. The only thing we've essentially the license under which PRX Quantum, and the Physical Review Research publish basically says that the authors can reuse the published articles in any way they see fit, as long as they give proper attribution to the journal.